you put like an
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of our listeners and viewers. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my guest today, my good friend Hafiz Ahmad Sabri. Ahmad, how are you doing today?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hafiz Asad, alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me. And alhamdulillah, looking forward to our discussion today.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Good to hear. Family is good, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, all good.
So Hafiz Saab has been on. He was one of my earliest guests back in September of last year when I was still, basically in podcasting. I'm still learning a lot. But he was one of the ones who gave me his time at the beginning, and I really appreciate him for that because it's hard to find people who will give who will give the time and also will put in the effort to try to make something successful. But jazakallah khair for that.
Allah
Um,
barak feek, alhamdulillah. Most welcome.
so Ahmad, alhamdulillah, he's a Sharia auditor, if I'm not mistaken, out in Bahrain. He's as we covered before as well. We won't get into all the details. Alhamdulillah, he's a graduate of IIUM, and he's living in Bahrain now with his family. He's originally from Atlanta. Alhamdulillah, his father and his brothers are still there, and they're a pivotal part of the Atlanta Muslim community for many many decades now. Alhamdulillah. So today, one of the topics that it just came up, and I earlier this week I spoke with another Sheikh Mufti Abdul Wahab Wahid. We spoke about self admiration and narcissistic behavior, and this is basically related to that, and both of them are related to social media. And the topic we have on hand tonight is. Me and Ahmed, we had a discussion earlier, and we were talking about who is really your friend and redefining the word friend and follower in the era of social media, in the age of social media. Right now we live in an era where everything is defined by how well you do on social media, may it be marketing, may it be sales, may it be friends, may it be the content you put out there. Literally, they look at your LinkedIn profile, they look at your Facebook profile, and they decide whether they want to hire you or not. And this topic, it became such a pressing issue. It is a pressing issue, and no matter how much we discuss it, it's not going to go away. So there needs to be discussions about this because this literally affects your fiscal abilities, it affects your physical abilities, and it also affects your mental abilities. That it's such a multifaceted topic that if you don't pay attention to social media, friends, followers, so on and so forth, it could make or break you. And so myself and Ahmed, we had been discussing this, that how important is this to each and every one of us. So we wanted to really discuss this today, and it's I really appreciate Ahmed for coming on for this topic, and we're just discussing this as friends of how in this era we can be healthy while being on social media, because a lot of times social media is toxic for people, and it's so toxic it could literally destroy every fiber of your mental health if not taken properly and people aren't there to help you. So Ahmed, what would you like to tell us about this topic? How do you feel about this topic?
I mean, for me, thank you very much for the introduction, brother Asadullah. Myself, I look at it, or I started to look at it after just a few personal experiences. And first and foremost amongst all that was my own social media use. When I first got introduced to social media was through a friend. I wasn't really looking for it or anything like that. But I think it was 2008, and a friend told me like you gotta get on Facebook. So I was like, okay, what's that? So he's like, come on, let me show you. And this is like the 2008 version. I mean, it's crazy to think about it, but how much Facebook has evolved since then. And basically, it was like, you have this wall and you can write on the wall, and there's pictures, and you can tag people in pictures, and people can tag you. And I was like, it looked interesting. Definitely was something I had never seen before. But I didn't know if I needed it or I didn't need it or what. But yeah, I got on. It was like, everybody's on there and it's the thing and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. Um, so I got on there, and the beginning, it was what they now, explain of like the slot effect, the slot machine effect. Like every time you get like a notification, it's like, oh, it's a notification. I gotta click it, see what happened. Somebody commented, somebody, replied, somebody tagged you in the picture, and I mean, it was just like I remember yeah, I was like a teenager. I guess I was probably like 18 or something. And yeah, it was kind of exciting, and there was definitely periods where it's like, you just keep thinking about it and thinking about it. And want to check it and stuff like that. And when you post something, you start getting the likes, and you get more likes and more likes, and you feel more good the more likes you get. All of that stuff was there. From that until now, fast forward 2020, 2021, whereas like, I barely use it, I barely post, and just understanding what happens in between all of that. What different people go through, why some people stay on it, why some people back away from it, and everybody else falls somewhere in between. I have a few friends who never had Facebook, or a few friends who got on it and then got off like pretty fast. So yeah, like, and in between that, there are those who get it, and it makes negative impacts, on life for them. So this is what led me to kind of be interested in this topic. And yeah, I mean, we'll get into some more details, but that's what made me realize that this is an important topic.
Yeah, subhanallah. So one of the things about me personally, last year when COVID started, I was contemplating completely removing myself from social media. So one of the things which I did, um, I unfriended a lot of people. I started unfollowing almost everybody, and basically, what I left my Facebook profile at, which I told in a few episodes back, was basically all I was getting was Quran ayats and hadith in my Facebook feed. Basically I negated everything, and for me, it was trying to get my spirituality right. Get that spirituality at the right track and the right point, because when COVID started, it was a make or break point for a lot of people, religiously speaking. A lot of people lost their faith, and a lot of people gained their faith, because a lot of people, for them, the masajid were their lifeline. And when they lost that lifeline, it really tore them apart. That even going for Jummah that one time a week was really what was keeping them right. And when they lost that, it really damaged their faith. So for me, it was more so an experience where I got to improve my faith by not removing Facebook altogether, but using it better. And then when the time came and I thought about doing a podcast, I had to start using it heavily. I made another Instagram profile for my for my podcast page, so on and so forth. So I'm using it more so for the podcast purposes. It's not really. If you look at my Instagram, there's like 3 posts or 4 posts, and if you look at my Facebook, either I post about the podcast or I post something related to the podcast. There's nothing really like personally being posted on there, really, speaking. So we live in an era where, now we're not going to talk right now about business or uh, employment perspective. We're going to talk about personal perspective, where people measure your success by how many followers you have on Instagram, how many friends you have on Facebook, a little bit less now, and what is your ratio on Instagram. Like, people will look at it like, oh, well, you're following 1,000 people, but 2,000 are following you. Your ratio is good. Then they look at your engagement percentage. That, oh, when people, there's the actual website that you can type in. Like, I could type in your Ahmed OTG, what's it called, Instagram tag, and it will show me your engagement percentage. That when
Yeah.
people, how many people will comment, how many people will like, and how often you interact with people who message or comment, so on and so forth. So your, even personally speaking, how you interact with people is being measured on the real analytical scale to see, how aware and how alert you are of your social media. And a lot of times for people, if you have a bad ratio, you're following 2,000 and you only have 1,000 people following you, they'll be like, oh, why do you follow so many people and nobody really follows you back? And to me, that's, sometimes some people don't care. Some people are following those pages to maybe Quran and Hadith pages, or they're following some art pages, or they're females following some, makeup pages, so on and so forth, to maybe learn something or gain some knowledge, or, see
Yeah.
what the new trend
Yeah.
is. But you also have this thing where, people are judging you based on how many people follow you or how many friends you have on Facebook. How
Yeah.
how do you feel about that? Just personally speaking, how do you feel about that? And how do you think that's positive, negative, damaging, so on and so forth?
So I mean, this is all about the growing up process. Like I said, like the 2008, approach or impression towards social media versus 2020. And I think what really made me start changing how I think about all this stuff, is when that Cambridge Analytica scandal happened. Uh, you know, I knew, before that, it can take a lot of time, especially back in the day when we used to use Facebook on PC. That was actually a lot more fun. Nobody really does that anymore. But using Facebook on PC was actually, a lot more fun. The mobile experience, you can spend a lot of time on it, but, the pictures are smaller and, you can't, see as much stuff at the same time. It's convenient, but it's actually not as enjoyable. Even though that's how I do it, because just pure convenience. But I don't know. I think that using it on computer was a lot more
It's
enjoyable.
not an immersive experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, videos and pictures. I mean, bigger screen is more enjoyable. But either anyway, I used to try to get my followers up and stuff like that. Not really on Facebook, because it just got to the point where like Facebook was just pushing my profile to all kind of people, and all these weird people were sending me friend requests, and I was like, okay, this is the first thing. I was like, okay, these people are not my friends at all. Like I might have seen this person one time somewhere, and then like, okay, they want to be a friend. Like, no, I don't want to see your stuff. I really, had this feeling where I need to see what other people were doing. It was just a few people that I wanted to see what they're doing. Other than that, I followed the pages that, give me good information. And, it's just kind of seeing what people are doing, by chance. But, it's mostly if I got something positive, I try to post positive things. If I have something positive thing to share, I'll put it out there. And that's basically what I used to do. So when I first got onto Instagram, then I was like, okay, this is a new game. I kind of looked at it like a game. I was like, all right, let me figure this out. So, I started posting things and trying to see how do you get followers, because, I got a few people imported from my Facebook then, but then I was like, okay, this thing is kind of like unlimited. You can get, as many followers as you want. Whereas Facebook, I'm like, friends, you can have like, I think it's like 5,000 friends. And at one point, I was kind of like, let me see if I can get to 5,000. That'll make me look kind of famous and stuff like that. But then it was like, but how do you have 5,000 quality friends? Like, quality was always still a concern for me, and I was like, it's gonna be hard to get quality. But just organically, I think I got like at least half of that. With a good number. I think overwhelming majority are people that at least I had one decent conversation with. There's a few random ones like I don't know where they came from, but majority of them I had a decent conversation. I don't have any like really weird people or whatever. So it was okay. I was like, this is okay. But so when I got on the Instagram, I was like, okay, how do we grow this? So then it's all about the posting and the time of the posting, and you have to use the hashtags and stuff like that. Otherwise, you have no chance. So I started to do that, and it's like post, take a nice picture and just put like hashtag photography or photo of the day or whatever, and you get all these people who like photography and stuff, that might look at your picture, and you get a few likes, get a few follows. So it's about kind of finding your niche, So I would post stuff about, business, and I would put like, hashtag like marketing or business or hustle or whatever. And, I would get these pages and people that would like or follow, and they're like, on that niche. So I realized, Instagram is kind of like a platform of niches. You got to find your niche, and then you post a lot in that area, with the hashtags, and then, you can develop the following.
So
So
there's a brother in the comment section. Before I didn't mean to cut you off, but there's a brother in
yeah,
the comment section. He's speaking about what you're talking about. Basically, he says sometimes because people are so driven by their followers and exposure rates, people will pay to have bots or groups to start frequenting your page to push your popularity. Now,
yeah,
how do you feel about that?
that's
That's
business, man.
what you're talking about right now. This is exactly what he's asking about.
No, I mean that's the higher level thing. That's
I see.
like people like influencers and stuff, like they're really trying to, get up,
I
get
see.
their numbers up. But the average kid is not gonna pay
I
for
see.
bots and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean people who really want to grow their following, and people who are trying to do, Instagram as a business or whatever, then yeah, that's a convenient thing. So this brother is, I'm sure, very IT savvy guy who's probably Hafiz of Quran with a couple of kids, maybe a bald spot. Allahu Alam.
Uh, uh,
But yeah, those are higher level thing. But I was thinking me, I was like,
yeah.
a guy with like 50 followers or something. I was like, let me see if I can get 100. Let me see if I can get 200. So when I started to do that, and when I started to get people to follow me who didn't know me but were like following because of the content that I posted, I felt like I was figuring it out. But at the same time, it's like, whenever in the beginning, when you go to Instagram, when you go to explore, it just knows you're a man. So it just shows you a bunch of pictures of women, and it was like, and I used to, post about like business and stuff. So it shows you all these kind of like guys with the suits and expensive watches and women and stuff. Like they try to guess what you want to see. So you have to kind of train your Instagram. What I learned, like you have to like click on a lot of Islamic stuff, or like for me basketball. Like so, just like keep clicking like on ESPN, and then eventually it'll clean up. But after a certain point, when I felt like I had figured the game out, I was like, okay, this is enough because I can't. I'm like, I have Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter, it's out there somewhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I can't do all of this, man. No, I can't. And not in a way that is gonna like. I would like LinkedIn when I was right right when I was in my last year or two in masters, and pretty much forever after that, I really started to kind of focus on LinkedIn because I was like, man, I need to make sure I get a job, right when I'm done with this. So, I used to actively take care of that. And I think that's the most productive platform of all because, you post your ideas, you get recognition for it. You meet real people. I think the overwhelming majority of people on there are real. So that was like in the one that I focused on. Facebook, yeah, I got like a lot of old family and friends on there. But Instagram was like, this I was late to the game. But I was telling you before when we spoke privately, I gave a speech to some kids, like it was Islamic talk to some kids, like young kids, like 10, 11, 12, 13. And after they finished, they were really happy, and these were kids like from China or something, but they live in Malaysia. And they were like, "Oh, brother, do you have Instagram?" I was like, "Actually, I had it, and then I lost the password or something. I had a really nice handle, I had like it was like Sabri01, like it was the best. But then I didn't use it for a long time, and then I don't know. They said my password is wrong, and they were like, if you want to reactivate this, you have to take a picture holding some numbers or something. I was like, come on, it's like a police mugshot thing. so so I was like, no, I'm not taking a picture holding numbers, man. So I made a new one. Just for them, basically, just to connect with these Generation Z brothers and sisters, and that's when I realized like the world is changing. Like Facebook was the thing, uh, like less than 10 years ago, but now it's like you say Facebook to some younger kids and they're like, oh, ew, disgusting. Facebook. That's what that's what the grandpas and grandmas use, which is an actual fact, That is a true thing. I mean, a lot of like my uncles and aunts are on there, and they are grandparents themselves. Uh, yeah, it's Facebook because at one point I was working with a charity crowdfunding platform, and I went into the marketing side of Facebook. That's when I also started to realize like every single thing you like, you're getting profiled and categorized. That's also one of the things that like turned off my uh, what can I say? It starts to build that repulsion toward it. When you start seeing how you are the commodity, that's a big turn off, for me. So it's like, I didn't realize like, I had done some surveys like, like what kind of person are you survey like back in 2009 or whatever, like it's
Yeah.
still there. And like weird pages that you might have just liked, back in the day, all of that is there, and it builds a profile. When you put your preferences, all of that goes into the marketing. So when people go into the Facebook marketing tab, which anybody can do it, you can just choose. You want people from, I don't know what they start from, 15 to 95. you know, you can choose whatever age group you want because they're all there. Facebook is like a country, how many people are on it. So a lot of things can be done. And that's when I realized this is not just that, it's not that fun photo sharing thingy from 2008 anymore. That those days are gone, man. This is really a business. And it's just like, yeah, it started to feel really uncomfortable being a product, and it's not just you sharing pictures with your friends and chit chat with a few guys here. It was fun back in those days, but now it's just like, okay, everything here is being tracked and shared and this and that. And I found there's a section in the app. If you go in the app on your phone, you can download like all of your footprint. Like I wanted to get mine, but it was like almost 3 gigabytes. So I need to like clear some space on my phone. Like it shows all your footprint. I mean, and even like the apps connected to Facebook that have permission to see stuff about you on Facebook when you just click install and you don't read terms and conditions. So it's like, I mean, I have like, I don't know, 50 apps on my phone that somehow take data from Facebook, even though I haven't connected. Like there's apps that say like, do you want to connect this to Facebook? Even if you don't click yes, they still get some information about you from Facebook. So it's just, it feels exploitative at a certain point. It's just like, I've had a good run. I had a good run. I did pretty good. I got a good number of friends and likes and whatever, but I'm not really down for this. So that though, those things gradually happened to me, and it was just like, and then also when you go in the working field, some people, they look at your social media just to see what you're doing, to see if they want to hire you or not hire you, or see if you're like a risk to the company. So when you start getting more up there in the professional world, you can't just be, sharing anything. You can't be posting anything. So, alhamdulillah, when I started a new job, I also realized, and even though they didn't say it, but they're that kind of company where, I was like, yeah, they probably do watch people's social media just to keep things, because when you deal with sensitive information, you can't just be on the internet saying anything or doing anything. So, I had to limit a lot of things again. So all of this made me wanted to pull out, but then when I started to see that also there's people that need help or advice or reminders and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, well, if you totally disappear, the Dawah aspect is still something that's relevant. You can't just put yourself in a cave and think about your own self and ibadah. Not It's not yet. We haven't got to that point. So, so then I kind of lean back toward, okay, let's just post enough so people know we're still alive. So yeah, I'm somewhere in between there right about now.
I see. So for example, I'll just use your brother as an example, Muhammad. He has a pretty active YouTube page, and he also posts on Instagram. Now, his YouTube content is mostly about his journey studying in Medina, and A lot of people watch it. It's decently popular. I'm not gonna say it's like the most popular YouTuber or something, but alhamdulillah, he gets a few thousand views on his videos because they're really interesting. And
Um,
you know, and it's good content. It's a good clean content. He talks about, his what he's doing in Saudi, studying in Medina, so on and so forth. But at the same time, you know, he's able to control it and post that. But a lot of times people will, once they start getting the content, or they start putting the content out there, they start getting the followers, they'll start, putting more, I guess, more content out there which will bring in people. Maybe it won't be as wholesome. I'm not talking about your brother in particular, but just in general, people will start putting stuff out there which isn't as wholesome, because they see maybe what I'm posting as wholesome is getting me 3,000 views. If I post some trash on there, which we would call it trash, but they would call it, something popular or something cool. If I put that out there, I'll probably be able to get 10 to 20,000 views. Now, how does a person differentiate, or how does a person control themselves to not do something like that? How would you, if somebody brings you a proposal, like Ahmed, on Instagram, you post this post, you're getting 1,000 likes. But if you post this may go against your moral compass. If you post this, you're gonna get 2,000 likes, and eventually we may be able to monetize your page. How would you control yourself from being like, look, I can't do that?
I mean, it's that's not a question for me because I told you I'm like borderline not even on social media. So I mean, it's like okay, well, number one, money is not worth my values. This is not a question for a 30-year-old something person who's already got wife and kids. This is like maybe somebody who's in their 20s and trying to make a living. It'll be a
Yeah.
hard question for them, but I'm not even a candidate for those kind of questions because my social media is not that big. So I mean,
But you were talking about your morals. They won't let you do that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, it wouldn't be a hard question for me. I'd be like, first of all, where do you get my phone number from? Like I wouldn't be interested in the slightest. I would not be interested in the slightest, so it wouldn't be
But
hard
why
for me.
why do you have those morals? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's been built up over time. Like I said,
Okay.
now I don't, I don't look at the internet and social media as innocent anymore. I look at it as another pair of eyes is looking at me, and almost like not the Terminator, but like a digital version of the Terminator. Like, okay, what is this thing trying to figure out, about me, or what is it, trying to manipulate me to? By doing this because I mean, like I can't remember when, but at a certain point, I realized that every single ad that you see, especially in Facebook, is because of something that you clicked. So like, I can remember like having a conversation with my wife, like, that's a nice car, and then that car will come in an ad in Facebook, like, oh no. No. So then you start realizing that the microphone is on, even when you think it's off. It applies to your smart TV also, or if you have the one that you can talk in the remote, the microphone is always on if you turn on the Android Assist. So, I mean, you realize this thing is watching you and trying to predict your moves and all this kind of stuff. So when I come to social media, it's just like I'm here because I need to be here, but I'm trying to get off like, soon as possible because it's creepy feeling, man. So when you just start putting yourself into the thinking that okay, every ad that you see is because of something you clicked, and sometimes or something that someone that you maybe interacted with or whatever, but mostly your readings on social media and websites you visit. So I mean, you just realize this nonstop tracking thing that's happening to you, and then it creates an uneasy feeling. I can say the least for myself. Maybe some people don't care,
But
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 it's just
but what
like
I was trying to get at from what you said, even though your perspective, your view, and your feelings are much different than somebody else's, who maybe uses social media to a much higher extent, but you said my morals are this way because first of all, obviously, it doesn't interest you as much, but at the same time, you were like, it's another pair of digital, like a digital Terminator watching you. And I know you're always like, don't make it, dark and keep it sort of light. But realistically speaking, that digital Terminator who is watching you is possibly hundreds, possibly thousands, possibly millions of people watching you each and every move of yours to see when you will make a mistake. But at the same time, as a Muslim, we shouldn't be afraid of that, just that digital terminator. We should realize that not only are those thousands of eyes watching us, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also watching us.
Of
So
course, of
whatever
course.
we post or put out there, that it may be detrimental maybe to our career or to our social life,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's also detrimental to our akhirah. And
yes.
you know, that's what I really pulled from what you were saying about your morals. They don't allow you to do it. Everybody's
Um,
morals are different, but what I saw is that even if your morals are all the way out there, you can really reel yourself in and be like, look, that this guy may be a little bit more strict. He doesn't want to put his wife and his kids on there and himself on there, but he's doing it to this extent. I can take that and apply that to my situation and keep myself grounded as well. So that's what I derive from what you said. Even though it was a very short sentence of, you know, this goes against my morals, I just derived that much from that.
yeah, and I mean that's. I appreciate you bringing up that point. Sometimes we take it as a given, maybe with the background that we have. But yeah, I mean everything that we do, everything that we say, we're worried about if Facebook is recording it, but the reality is that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is recording everything that you do and say and listen to and watch, recording when you're offline and when you're online. With the two angels that you have, that write down all the good and the bad that you do. And sadly, some people believe that this doesn't apply to the internet. So it's like when you're on the internet, all the good deeds and bad deeds stuff that doesn't apply. It only applies when you're off the internet. And I can see some kids actually think that as well. So they're kind of like, you know in face to face, they're pretty tame or reasonable kids. But then, when they get online, these guys are like, wow, like, okay, what's going on? Like, don't you know this is equal to saying? It's like, no, I didn't say anything. I just typed it. So that still counts, because it was produced by you. If you couldn't talk, you would write anyway. So I mean, it still goes on your hisab, what you write and things like that. Just like if you write a good Islamic book, the khair and the blessings of that will go in your hisab. And if you're going around writing bad comments and stuff like that, that also goes on your hisab. So yeah, getting the younger generation to realize that all the Islamic values apply to your activity on the internet, that really applies. I mean, I was just talking to my wife yesterday. Uh, we there's some common context that we have. Like his sister, like she wears hijab in public, but then do Instagram live with no hijab on. Like, what's going on here? You know, and yes, like from the house, like getting ready for the day or something, doing the whole makeup program. Like, you go in public and you cover it, and you go in internet and be exposed, and thinking that, like, nobody's watching. It's just me and my friends or something. Yeah,
There's
it's kind
more
of sad, man.
there's more eyes than you think
Yeah,
watching
I
us.
mean, I think people don't even care. They're just like some people are like they really don't care. Some people just really don't care. Like,
So
I guess
so
being an American, we kind of have this whole privacy and stuff like that. But certain people in other countries just like, yeah, what? So what?
everything's out there. But
Yeah,
but
it's like
but
everybody
but
else is doing it.
based off of that, what you were just talking about, putting yourself out there. Now we started off talking about, you know, friends, and you're talking about quality of friends. Based on that and taking what you just said, I'm going to ask you something. A lot of
Mhm.
times people will have friends, people will have followers, and obviously we don't know the qualities, different qualities, but a lot of times you may be doing bad things online, and people will basically encourage you. Like a few months ago there was a famous YouTuber. He's Muslim, and he took a picture, I think, or he had a TikTok of him kissing a girl. And even though he's not considered a very religious figure, a lot of people were not happy with that. including his close friends. So they basically had an intervention with him. They sat him down. They did all of it on YouTube because these are YouTubers and these are they do it for the gram, so on and so forth. So they sat down with him and they explained to him that, look, what you're doing is not acceptable. You can't be doing this, especially in public. Obviously, privately, you shouldn't be doing it either. But they were like, look, you can't be doing this in public and posting it on TikTok. They sat him down, and alhamdulillah, due to that, he actually changed course a good bit. I'm not saying he became some, publicly some waliullah, he's sitting in the masjid with the tasbih and just doing dhikr, but he changed his way and he's done some good things since then. And he's giving a little bit of da'wah, so on and so forth. He's changed his way a lot. He's in touch with scholars, so on and so forth. But he was doing something which was not good, which was obviously kissing a female who he's not related to. It's not his wife, and, he's putting it online and they took it to heart and they were like, this is not right. And all these guys are Muslim. So a lot of times I may put something out there and people will laugh at it and they'll be like, oh, that's so funny, but it's completely haram. How damaging is this when your friends who are good friends, even as Muslims, they're egging you on to do things which are haram? How damaging is this in your opinion, or how do you feel about that?
It reminds me of that hadith, where it says that, the example of a good friend and a bad friend is like the example of, the blacksmith and the perfume seller. So, the good friend is like the perfume seller, where, if you spend time with him, either he will give you some perfume, and you'll smell good from that, or even just from being in his company, some of it is gonna rub off on you. And the example of, the bad friend is like the blacksmith, that either he will burn your clothes or you'll come out smelling like smoke, as he does. So, this is the same example of friends, which, we learned, when we were kids before there was internet. I was just thinking about before this podcast. I was like, like 50 years from now, we're going to tell our kids, like, we are the last generation of people to experience the world without the internet. Like, we are the last people who know what dial up was. And it's just, it's crazy, man. But that's going to be a thing, where the kids are going to ask, like, what was the world like before the internet? And we're the only ones who will know. We'll be the only people who can tell what that was. That's kind of crazy, man. I was just thinking about that yesterday because of the topic. I was like, that could actually, that probably, if the world continues, that will be a future that we may see. 'Cause, our kids don't know what the world without the internet is. So yeah. Anyway, so it's just like, these rules apply to life offline, and they apply to life online. So good friends in the real world, brings positive effects, and good friends online also brings positive effects. I used to have friends, they used to say like, oh, Facebook is so bad. I was like, why? It's like, all my friends, they do this and they do that, they do this and they do that. I was like, man, you have bad friends. Like, don't follow them. Because I mean, alhamdulillah, like, I don't have that. Like, when I open my Facebook, well, previously, it used to be interesting, like people going on vacations in different places. There are people who found a nice book, or saw something like on a TED talk or something. Like, I had pretty, educated, decent people friends. Somebody's posting Islamic reminder. It was a good balance. Maybe one or two weird things here and there, but for the most part, it was good. Now it's just like, I don't know. You saw the post, just like obituary book, man. I mean, stuff a lot. It's, I don't know how that works. I don't know what I would. I mean, I think I've done it at least once or twice, but I don't know why. It's like, you just supposed to go on Facebook now. It's just like somebody died, somebody died, somebody died, somebody died, somebody got married, somebody had a baby. That's the overwhelming. So it's not really something to look forward to. Like, when I open Facebook now, it's like, please don't start with somebody died. you know. So, but yeah, I mean, who you hang out with, it totally affects your whole, your direction in life. That the famous saying of "Show me who your friends are, and I'll show you who you are." So I mean, if your main group is, or if the people that are giving you all the likes and the comments and things like that aren't really going in the direction in life that you want to be going in, then they're probably, you know, egging you on towards whatever direction they're going in. Or if they don't have any direction, they're trying to get you to be directionless too. Maybe not even intentionally, but just by osmosis of the way that they live and the way that they're acting. So yeah, it's definitely. I mean, and the thing, with like our younger generations and things like that. Some of us are more connected to our friends online than we are with the friends offline, or the friends that are in other places. So this is another thing where when kids are mostly connected, or mostly feeling dear to those that are with them online, it's like, okay, what's the alternative? And then maybe family is not giving them attention, or family is too busy or whatever. So people need connection. Now we can say all the negatives of social media and things like that, but why does it live on? Because people need connection. I was looking at a speech other day trying to prepare for this. Why is it that people won't get off Facebook? There's the huge number of people said, like, if you felt like you wouldn't miss out on anything, would you deactivate your social media? It was like a survey, and a lot of people was like, yeah, I would deactivate it. But is that what they call fear of missing out, or FOMO? Is like people are so afraid of what they might miss out on, they just won't deactivate it. It also kind of applies to people's subscriptions to all these kind of Netflix or whatever. Like, people just have a hard time with deactivating or canceling things. It's easier to sign up for something than it is to cancel it. But yeah, people, when your number one support network is online, so this becomes more of a challenge, because you're not going to convince most people to get off of social media. But it's more about um, being wise about how you use it, and knowing that whatever, what can I say? Whatever you put out there is going to attract people of that nature. Just put it like that.
That's the last sentence. It's I don't think I've heard it before, but it's really nice. Say that again. You got to say it one more time.
I mean, whatever you put out there, whatever you post,
Yeah.
promote, it will attract people of that same nature.
Wow. That's I'm just thinking about it, that it's so deep, because I'm also thinking about, it also relates to nature and animals, and it also relates to us as human beings, where whatever you put out there, like let's say you put some food out there that's any animals eat, for example, squirrels, they'll start coming out. But eventually, with the squirrels, you'll get other, raccoons and armadillos and stuff like that. Maybe you don't want those to come out. Sorry, possums, not armadillos. Possums to come out, and what you've done is you've created the cesspool of a mess. That, there's things you didn't want out there. So similarly, if you put something out there with just content which shouldn't be out there according to your characteristics and according to your morals, now what you've done is you've attracted the bad people to you, people you didn't want to be near you, but now they're going to encourage you to do even more in that direction. Be like, oh, what you did is so good. For example, you went on a date with a girl, a very pretty girl. Now you posted a picture of you hanging out with her, and she, you're wearing your suit and she's wearing her, tiny dress. That's, the common fashion these days. And then people are going to write in your comment section, even your Muslim friends, great job. Oh, you guys look like a great couple. Things like this. People will be encouraging you, although they should be discouraging you. They shouldn't. Even if they don't post in the comment section, I'm not a big advocate of going into the comment section of somebody and being like, "This is completely haram. You're gonna go to hell, and you might as well get rid of it right now before you burn in hell." If they're a friend of yours, give them a call. Don't go into their comment section and tell them they're gonna burn in hell. I more than anything, you're probably gonna push them away rather than bringing them closer. So giving a call and letting a friend know that, yo, bro, this is not acceptable. This is not good for you, you know, personally, and this is not good for you spiritually, may work out better than going into their comment section and or unfriending them, or going into their comment section and completely obliterating any and every sort of semblance they have.
Yeah,
What
for sure. For sure, for sure. I mean, that's basic hikmah that, you give, people recognition and praise in public, and you give them admonition and advice in private. So, yeah, the whole trying to convince people or argue or debate or whatever via the comment section, that's a very futile thing. I learned it over the years. Now I don't engage in that at any at any level. The comment section is just a place full of emotions and randomness, and you can't get anything really coherent going in the social media comment section.
There
It's
was the
pretty
other day
hopeless.
there was a sister. She's a mashallah. She converted to Islam. Her and her husband both. Her husband's been on the podcast as well, and she had posted. She had commented on a post. It was up in Kentucky or somewhere, where no, not in Kentucky, Ohio. They busted somebody, and in their car or van, they had like 10,000, probably a cargo van, 10,000 pounds of marijuana, and they were transporting it, and they busted this person. So I forgot what she wrote. She wrote something. Yeah, she wrote that they should just legalize it at this point. That's her opinion. And I was like, but what are you gonna do about this? The weed sniffing dogs, and they'll be unemployed. And I was like, people will be really concerned about that because in America, people are more concerned about their dog's well being than a human's well being. Um, Literally, Michael Wick went to jail for 7 years. For I don't think he even killed the dogs. I don't know. I'm not trying to disrespect or demean any dogs, but he spent more time in jail for a few dogs being killed than a lot of times people spend in time in jail for killing actual people. And that just goes to show you that how twisted society is at this point in time. So I wrote that and somebody took it completely the wrong way. They're like, oh no, they're dogs, they can sniff other things as well. And she's like, he's just being funny. And and it just goes to show you, somebody can be a clown on, Instagram or Facebook, and people may take it the wrong way, or they may find them really funny. And when they find them funny, they'll give a whole new life to it. Like, for example, the Straight Pet podcast tomorrow, it goes from 113 or 110 followers to like 10,000 followers. Will that change me? That's a question I need to ask myself. And when I
Yeah,
had when the other day
yeah.
when we were talking in our private conversation, I'm going to put this out there, and it's not like I have a million followers, so it doesn't matter. But
You
you
never
said to
know.
me that, what is that?
You never know. It could
Yeah.
blow up overnight, man.
Yeah. So you were like, you need to promote yourself as well, and I was like, man, it's so hard for me. It's not something I'm used to, and I don't like to do it. So actually, that same night when I was on the podcast with the Sheikh, Mufti Abdul Wahab Wahid, I asked him. I was like, self promotion for the purpose of podcasting for this podcast, should I do it? And he's like, and basically the gist of what he said was, I think you should. He's like, the content you're putting out there is good and it benefits people. He's like, if you don't promote yourself, and he's like, don't take it to an extreme, but if you don't promote yourself, it's not going to get out there like it should.
Yeah,
and
that's
and
true.
basically you opened up my mind to actually ask that question and get an answer. So I was like, look, I need to start promoting a little bit better about myself, about the podcast, so on and so forth, so the content gets out there. And you opened up my eyes and you opened up my mind to that. Otherwise, if you wouldn't have said it, I wouldn't have even thought about it. And that was one of the problems I was running into consistently. And so each and everything which we do online over the course of the conversation, you've highlighted it many, many times, especially with the whole, digital hacks where, your information gets stolen. We should be very careful about what we put out there. And we should be very careful about what we put out there, like you said, for especially professional for a lot of people. And then, emotional and spiritual and physical for people who we deal with. But at the same time, you were talking about quality of the people who you're interacting with, and how the people you may interact with may be egging you on to do something which is bad for you, but in reality you should go to somebody who's maybe a good friend of yours, who may be a little bit more guided. I'm not going to say religiously or unreligiously, but guided to a more stable mindset. Be like, look, the content I'm putting out there, is this actually good for me or not?
I think it's more about grounded than
Grounded.
guided these
Oh, yeah,
days.
there you go. My
People
mistake.
that are, grounded in reality, because I mean, this thing is all superficial, with all
Yeah.
the Photoshop pictures and all, the manipulation, especially on Instagram that happens. It's not even about real. I mean, like a lot of the people that are like super famous on social media, like, how doctored and, choreographed all of that stuff is.
Yeah.
It's not like what you're doing in the podcast. You sit down on the sofa, turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, and talk. There's no Steven Spielberg effects happening here. It's
Uh,
that's just normal media. But with
yeah.
these, especially with pictures, I mean, it's so much doctoring. Or when people are posting videos, so much work goes into editing. So I mean, the real people, if you meet them, without all of the special effects and stuff, they're probably quite different. I'm talking about the ones that are very popular and
Yeah.
famous. Quite different than what you see on the internet. I mean, because I've met a few slightly, famous people, and and you meet them, it's just regular people. But when you have a whole team of folks behind you to make you look really cool, it has a very powerful effect. And I just want to share one story, though, not related to that, but related
Yeah.
to what you were saying about how the comment section can get so out of control. So I have one good story. And, at one point, when I was actually more active on Facebook and stuff, I somehow was like, I was following like new basketball shoes or whatever that were coming out and stuff. And somehow that led me to get like the update really early, like when LeBron James had launched this new shoe. Okay, and this is, I don't know, this might have been 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. So he launched his new shoe, and it was like there was a picture of him, like doing a press release, and like this was like, like just a couple minutes after it happened. So I was in a position where I could have been like one of the first 10 comments. So it wasn't that I wanted to comment on, this to be one of the first. Some people, they just want to be the first to comment.
First.
Yeah, that was not my interest at all. But what caught my attention was like he was wearing skinny jeans that were like camouflage, and it just looked terrible to me. It was like skinny camouflage jeans. I mean, it was just LeBron James, like a huge person. Like if you're skinny and you wear skinny jeans, it's kind of like goes under the radar. But this guy is humongous. So I wrote like, "Come on, LeBron, you can do better than this, man. Camouflage does not go with skinny jeans. It's not. This doesn't suit you. You can do much better than this." And I thought, this is just me and the internet. No one is gonna see this. Nothing's gonna happen. I left. I logged out. I went. I don't know. I had lunch, dinner, lived my life. Man, I came back like a few hours later. I had started a war.
And but somebody got some hate.
Oh my! And it was like half the people were like, you see the comments, and then you go to the profile. This guy is somewhere like in the middle of Africa, man. He's not even American. No, you cannot disrespect the king like this. He looks very
Man,
good.
man. People
I
love
was
them some LeBron. Come on, man.
I know, but I'm just saying these weren't even basketball fans, or maybe they're somehow basketball fans. But like, I mean, no offense, but you see their profile pictures. These guys are standing in some places like they.
You don't know how they're accessing NBA TV.
I don't think they watch, a lot of I don't want to say anything disrespectful, but I just say this: they're not from America.
You
They're
know,
not,
you know,
they're
you know.
not from America.
Back in the day,
But
um,
but let me just to
yeah,
finish. I did get some support too. There were some guys
oh,
like, "Yeah, I'm ex-military, bro. Don't disrespect the camouflage." So I mean,
uh,
there was a back and forth. I had some people who were on my side, like, "Yeah, why are you big old grown man wearing skinny jeans?" Because it was back when that thing first started to kick off. So there was people that were on my side, but there was women too. No, don't you listen to him? You look good. You keep doing what you're doing. So I mean, that's when I realized like some people, they take these heroes that they have on the internet they really seriously. Like, their success, like the success of the celebrity is the success of these people, and the well being of the celebrity is the well being of the people. So I mean, actually, we didn't really dive a lot into the key words of our topic today with the words, the definition or redefining of friends and followers. But these followers, when they get deep into it, like, they want to know what is happening in the life of the person that they follow. They want to know when they're healthy. They want to know when they're sick. They want to know when something good happens. They want to know when something bad happens. I mean, the really good ones, they are supporters through and through. And then other people, they just follow to see what's happening. But I mean, the mentality to be such a follower, that you have that much concern and worry is like, for us, who do we follow? And then now I'm gonna go back and forth between real world following and social media following. Like, who do you follow for real? Like, who do you follow as in imitate, as in try to be like, and yeah, like someone you try to be like and learn from and aspire to. That is supposed to be just one person, which is Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
He's supposed to be the follower of Prophet Muhammad.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
In the story, and everybody else can file in after that: parents, teachers, mentors, so on and so forth. But if you're not number one following the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
Sallallahu.
then you have your priorities mixed up. You probably might not even thought about it. I'm not saying you, but
No, no,
anyone.
you're just conversing. Yeah.
So this is when I don't like the word follower. So when I think you have this many followers, you have this many followers. I mean, like we talk about like how many followers certain prophets will have on the day of judgment. Like some prophets will come with no followers, and
Yeah.
some Prophet Muhammad will come with the most followers.
Sallallahu.
So now you want to be a follower of somebody, or you want to have other people to follow you. Or if you're going to follow someone, where are they going to take you? Because when you follow, that means you follow the leader. So this person, you chose them to follow them. Where are you asking them to lead you to? You know, and if you're taking followers, where are you leading the followers that you have? So
Yeah.
this has to be a kind of responsibility the people need to take into consideration. You have a responsibility to follow responsibly, and you have a responsibility that you don't lead people astray. Because if you have followers and you lead them in the wrong direction, you have to answer for that on the day of judgment. So this whole follower thing is, it has sensitivity. And then when it comes to the whole friends thing, like, yeah, okay, who are these really your friends? People that you confide in, people that you trust, people that trust you and things like that. That's what a friend is supposed to be. Back in the day, you beat up, you get beat up, or you beat up somebody, you guys have your grudge match, you shake hands afterwards, and then you become friends because you kind of know, like, okay, this guy's a real dude. Back in the day, people used to get into fights, and then they become really good friends. Because you kind of seen the real side of a person.
Yeah.
Um, but now this friend thing here is just like, it's more like a collectible item. Like the little Pokemon you got there. Just trying to catch them all. So it's like the race to 5,000 friends in Facebook. And then you have to delete some so you can get some more. So I mean, you're like, what kind of friends are these? Oh,
This is my friend.
okay, that's good. That's good.
No, this is my son's dinosaur. He's we thought we lost him for a few weeks, and we found him again today or yesterday. So he's been happy.
Inshallah.
But no,
You're
that's I know that was basically what we were gonna get into, but there was everything we spoke about was related
Yeah, yeah.
to this
That's
topic. But one thing I remember, this was back in my time when I was in Atlanta for Hifz Tahfiz al-Quran myself. That was back when 50 Cent was famous, or he's
when
still
was
famous.
this?
50 Cent back in 2004 2005.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, at basically the peak of his popularity when he was actually producing music. Um,
Okay.
so there was this one. MTV thing, which they did, and they went to like different villages in India, and they asked people like, "Who is your favorite musician?" And these kids were like, "50 Cent," and just going around. I don't know if they actually knew who he was or if he was actually that popular, and they're going around, and he had sort of like this, I guess, cult following of sorts, where people, whether they listened to his music or not, they wanted to be his follower because it was cool to be a 50 Cent follower. Similarly, these days, people will be on Instagram and they will follow these pages of these celebrities, even though they may not really, they're never going to meet them. Okay. Maybe one time take a picture, you see them somewhere, but that may be the extent of, they're not going to become their best friend. But they're going to follow them to see maybe what they're wearing or where they're going. And, basically maybe live out their desires or live out, their fantasies through these celebrities. And people get phased out by the reality of life. Like, like they'll see maybe some Kardashian, the most common celebrity, I guess, these days, if that's what they are, going on a trip, and they're in France or something like that, and they're sitting on a ship or a boat or a canoe or something, and people will be like, "Oh, that would be so cool to be able to go like them." Like, no, live your own reality. Don't look at them. Everything they're doing is, like you said, doctored and fake and filters and stuff like that.
They have money. That's
No, they
real,
have money.
yeah. They have money.
Yeah,
I'm not a supporter of them. I don't watch their show. I've never watched it, but
yeah,
I saw a few interviews. I always look at it the business side because I think one
yeah,
of them, she became a billionaire. So I always wonder like how they get all this money. So I
yeah.
watched a few like
Mm.
ABC interviews. They got money.
They have money.
Now, yeah, now how they got it, some of it is questionable, this, that, but there's some people they're fake. Like there's some like rappers, okay, for example, they
Yeah,
do a music video and you see them standing next to a car. Why do you think he's standing next to the car and he's not driving the car? Because he don't own the car. Okay, this is a real thing. And all the
yeah,
people dancing in the videos, they're not their real friends. They paid all of them to come, and then after
yeah.
that they gonna leave. But they probably own all of that stuff
But
because
that's not what I was saying. Is
they got crazy
everything,
money.
but there's nothing real about, for us. There's nothing real about what they're doing. It's not like you and me are gonna one day get on a ship and be taking pictures and stuff like that. So
Wait,
living
man.
out,
Hey. What's wrong with getting on the boat and taking pictures, man? I like that. That's cool, man.
I mean, to the extent of israf, I don't know. Maybe
I mean, there's no such israf in pictures, bro. The pictures are
no,
free.
not pictures, but
Now,
just aimlessly, going around to take pictures.
I mean, it's called a vacation, bro. That's what you do. You go around aimlessly, you take pictures because you've never
Okay, is
been
that
there
what it is?
before.
Okay.
The point is, if you're showing off
Yeah,
how much money you have. Now,
yeah,
if you have a good, for example, you have a good Muslim brother,
yeah,
and he has a really nice private yacht. He's like, yo, man, we're gonna go
yeah.
to the Bahamas and we're gonna take some pictures.
Sure, why not?
Exactly. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with it. Now, if you said like, "Hey, I'm gonna take a lot of pictures and put these
yeah.
on social media and
That's
like
what I was
what they
getting
call
at.
flex on everybody,"
Yeah,
you want pictures, okay? When you go and put like 50 pictures, and
yeah,
the way you post the pictures, the way you post your pictures
yeah. Me
also
and
shows
Ahmed
like
take
what.
a picture like this.
Yeah, if you're holding up, a glass of who knows what, trying to make yourself look like something else. That's a
Yeah,
different thing, but
yeah,
you get on the boat, you take some pictures, no problem.
yeah,
But the issue is actually this is not the issue. The issue with these people that you mentioned that
yeah,
affects us, our community, and
yeah,
especially this is a whole nother topic about
yeah,
how it affects guys, how it affects women. These are huge topics. This is
yeah,
just it's we've been on here almost an hour. We've barely scratched the surface. But I
yeah,
mean, one thing when you mentioned why are they popular? Because their thing is labeled as reality TV actually. So that's why people like to watch it because it's supposedly closer to reality. It's less scripted or whatever. But there's a verse in the Quran, that says, "وَلَا تَمُدَّنَّ عَيْنَيْكَ إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا." That don't focus your eyes on what they have been given, yani the non-Muslims or otherwise have been given from these pleasures of the dunya. And I remember one scholar saying this means that you should not actually spend your time looking at the wealth of other people. How much money this person has, how much money this person has, how many cars this person has. That is, bad for your spiritual well-being. So in that context, if you're looking at oh, look how big their house is, oh, look how many cars they have, oh, look how expensive their clothes are, look how much jewelry they have. That is that is very bad, and that especially has negative impact on sisters. Not to say it doesn't affect brothers. Well, it affects everyone, but somehow women, they like to compare each other with each other a lot. So that stuff trickles down. It trickles down, and then it's like, oh, this person has this, and we don't have that, and this person has that. I mean, it happens even without social media. You go and visit a friend, and you come back home, and you realize, how
How nice of a
how
house you have or
deficient you
something.
are, or what you don't have, and so on and so forth. Or this person went on vacation and did this, and all this kind of stuff. So looking at other people's dunya, and then letting that seep into your heart to the extent where you're like, oh, I want that, or why don't I have that, or how can I get this and that and the other. That's where the danger comes, and there's a lot of that in social media. There's a huge amount of that whole showing off what you have, where you've been, this whole showing off thing, of your whatever you have of worldly things, money, travels, possessions. This, it has a negative effect, and then it also has that whole, the whole looks and appearances thing, especially with, with young girls. That is a huge
That's a huge issue.
pitfall, or I don't know what you can call it, but it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a danger zone, and that this happens. But I mean, it's all about all these problems somewhat comes to us, but it's much more heavily magnified for the younger, especially this Generation Z. As I told you, they already, I think, 20% of the world and growing, like, because they've been born with internet. They've been born with it, or they had internet since like 5 years old or whatever. We were lucky, like, internet was slow when we were like 15 or whatever, so you couldn't do so much damage, and plus
Yeah.
there wasn't any social media. But all of these levers and buttons and stuff like that, all these things that are pulling us in so many different directions. These kids are starting at it with like 8, 9 years old. Like the worst thing we had, you might just get addicted to your PlayStation or your Game Boy or whatever, but at least you're only in that little world. It's not people like live action playing with your brain. Like, you have to watch this documentary, Social Dilemma, if you haven't watched it already.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You okay? Khalas. Cancel this podcast. Go watch it, and we'll do the podcast again.
Inshallah, inshallah.
It's it's
But
it's that it's mandatory watch. Like, we can't go further. We can, but we can't properly go into this topic until you watch that. And there's some others as well, but at least watch that
social
within the
dilemma.
next.
Okay.
I mean, it's still a weekend for you in
Okay.
America. I have to go to work today because I'm in Bahrain. Sunday is
You
work.
have to go to work a little bit.
Yes, yeah,
I'm
so
sorry I've
tomorrow.
taken up too much of your time.
No, it's okay. But since you're in the weekend, watch it this weekend, bro, and let's discuss it afterwards, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. But Jazakallah khair, Ahmed, for your time. Do you have any parting wisdom and advice for us?
It's not. It's hard to part with something or end on something, because I mean, like I said, we're just
Scratching
scratching
the
the
surface.
surface.
Yeah.
But it's just the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-rajulu ala dini khalilihi falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a man or a person follows the deen. Yeah, you can say religion, or you can say way of life, of the person who is Khalil. Khalil is more than a friend. Like, in Arabic, the friendship it has various levels. You have Sadiq, you have Rafiq, you have Khalil, you have Sahib, you have so many. Like Arabic, they really broke down this. So Khalil is someone who is your close companion. It's not just friend, but someone who is your close companion, someone who's dear to your heart. So that's why Ibrahim is Khalilullah. Why? Because it's close to the heart. So it's Prophet ﷺ said, "Rajulu ala dini khalilihi falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." So be aware and be careful of who you put in that position of your Khalil. So yeah, I mean, this applies the same, on your social media. Like, I don't know who's that person you keep checking their profile, or you keep watching them, or keep interacting with. Whoever you spend time with, in larger amounts, whoever you get closer with, share your deeper feelings, thoughts, emotions, whatever. Be careful who that person is, because if you are inclined to them more so than they're inclined to you, then you will get pulled in whatever direction of life that that person is going. So be careful. This is advice from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You know, it's the best that that's if you want me to close with something, I can't close with anything better than the Quran and Sunnah. So
No,
I will
absolutely.
say
That was
that.
beautiful.
And you know, yeah, there's so much the topic and academic wise, social wise, there's so much to be said. But you know, I can end with that and just say that inshallah, we should continue. But
Inshallah.
you know, there's a good amount of research actually that we should do
Yeah.
and come back to this and
Inshallah.
maybe even have some case studies and stuff. And yeah, inshallah, keep the discussion going
Inshallah.
if that suits your plan, inshallah.
Inshallah. Most definitely. But Jazakallah khair for your time. And I know you have to get to work, so I really appreciate you taking time out of your morning where you could have been resting or doing something else. I really appreciate you giving your time, and I really appreciate you giving time out of your time with your family as well. Jazakallah khair. Allah subhanahu wa
Alhamdulillah.
ta'ala keep you and your family safe
Amen.
throughout these trying
Thank
times
you.
and keep everybody all around the world safe.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, brother.
No
Same
problem.
for you, inshallah. Barakallah
Inshallah.
feek. Thank you so much for doing this. And inshallah, hopefully we'll do it again.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.